In the late 1950s, researchers from Kyoto University, who were observing Japanese macaques living on Kashima Island in Miyazaki Prefecture, Japan, witnessed an unbelievable sight. It began when a young female monkey happened to wash a sweet potato in seawater before eating it. This behavior gradually spread among the monkeys on the island, and before long, more than 100 monkeys were washing their sweet potatoes in seawater. At that very moment, astonishingly, Japanese macaques in Oita Prefecture also began washing sweet potatoes. Although the Koshima Island troop and the Oita troop were completely independent populations, this strange phenomenon, seemingly as if a habit had been transmitted, was published in a 1965 paper and stirred up a huge controversy. The 100th monkey phenomenon. When a significant number of members within one group adopt a new behavioral pattern, that pattern is transmitted to other groups through means that cannot be explained. This applies equally to groups that are physically separated or have no means of communication with each other. A non-scientific phenomenon that simply cannot be accepted by conventional common sense. The biggest problem was that events like these were not all that rare. In 1981, Dr. Rupert Sheldrake presented the morphic resonance hypothesis in his book. Having earned a PhD in biochemistry from the University of Cambridge and continued active research, Sheldrake's new hypothesis caused a tremendous stir the moment it was announced. Further elaborated in his 1988 book, The Presence of the Past, Morphic Resonance and the Habits of Nature, the contents of the morphic resonance hypothesis were as follows. Until the 1960s, before the Big Bang Theory was widely accepted, we regarded the universe as an unchanging entity. We thought evolution was limited solely to the biological realm. But now we know that the universe evolves. And it is not only organisms or the universe that evolve. The laws of nature are also evolving. If so, how are the laws of nature remembered and enacted? To explain this, I argue that morphic fields exist in this world. Morphic fields in which countless pieces of information, such as memory, genes, and habits are recorded in real time, are not fixed and evolve endlessly. Organisms and matter follow laws based on information recorded in morphic fields. In other words, if one individual records a particular behavior in a morphic field, that specific behavior can spread rapidly among other individuals. Through this, we can explain the question of why discoveries or events that had never happened before, once they occur even a single time, keep occurring thereafter. Dr. Sheldrake's hypothesis that everything in this world is recorded in morphic fields, and that organisms and matter are influenced by information recorded in those fields, seemed like nothing more than a far-fetched story. However, at the same time, the evidence presented was remarkably diverse. Among them were even mysterious cases that could not be explained by existing theories. Japanese children's song experiment. Dr. Sheldrake conducted an experiment in which British students with no knowledge of Japanese were asked to learn and memorize 3 Japanese children's songs. First, a popular song known by millions of Japanese people. Second, a newly created Japanese song made by the research team. Third, a fake song made by plausibly arranging meaningless Japanese words. Given that the students had no knowledge of Japanese at all, there should have been no difference in the time it took to memorize the 3 songs. However, all the students succeeded in learning the first song much faster than the other 2. This in turn meant that the morphic field, formed over a long time by countless Japanese people, was helping with learning. Morse code experiment. The results of an experiment devised by psychologist Arden Malberg were the same. When people randomly selected were taught both a fake Morse code created arbitrarily and the official Morse code actually in use, most subjects acquired the official Morse code much faster. Word experiment. Yale psychology professor Gary Schwartz selected 48 3-letter words from the Hebrew Bible. 24 were commonly used words, and the other 24 were very rarely used. When subjects were instructed to choose the words that seemed meaningful, the commonly used words received twice as many selections as the rare ones. Image experiment. In 1983, a local TV station in the UK conducted an experiment, asking 1,000 citizens what they thought the image was. Only 34 people got the correct answer. About 2 weeks later, after the station revealed on air that the image was a dog, another identical experiment was conducted with 850 citizens in a different region. Because of the nature of local broadcasting, citizens in the other region had no way to watch the prior broadcast, so the correct rate should have been similar to before. However, this time the correct rate reached as high as 10.5%. Dr. Sheldrake explained the result by saying that the memories of people in the specific region who learned the identity of the image through the local broadcast were recorded in the Morphic field. The rat maze experiment. The same phenomenon occurred in animal experiments. First, Dr. Sheldrake put several rats into a complex maze to train them to learn the route. Then after the maze-trained rats had offspring, he put the grown offspring into the maze. As this process was repeated, later generations of rats became proficient in the maze faster than earlier generations. Even when only the dullest, least skilled individuals were selected for breeding, the result was the same. Considering that acquired memories are not inherited is generally taken as common sense, the results were astonishing. It seemed almost as if the Morphic field had recorded the form of the maze. Subsequent experiments with migratory birds and termites showed the same results. Simultaneous discovery of calculus. In 1666, Isaac Newton of the Kingdom of England invented the theory of calculus. Newton did not announce his discovery publicly. Instead, he shared an unpublished paper only with mathematicians in his own country. Around the same time, completely unaware of this, Gottfried Wilhelm Leibniz of the Holy Roman Empire invented calculus in 1675. The two inventions were carried out with no communication whatsoever and were entirely independent. Dr. Sheldrake argued that this event, where a theory of the century was independently invented by two people of the same era, cannot be explained by coincidence alone. He claimed that once Newton recorded the existence of calculus in the Morphic field, it influenced Leibniz as well. Simultaneous publication of Dennis the Menace. In the case of the popular comic Dennis the Menace, it is cited as a case that cannot be explained except by Morphic fields. On March 12, 1951, American cartoonist Hank Ketchum and Scottish cartoonist David Law each published comics with the same title on the very same day. A startling coincidence. The two comics even shared the common feature of a mischievous boy named Dennis, who wears striped clothes and has a pet dog. The claim is that this was not mere coincidence, but an event caused by Morphic fields influencing both cartoonists at the same time. The curious cases of Morphic fields did not end there. Disappearing polymorph. In 1996, the AIDS treatment ritonavir was released. At that time, ritonavir had a very stable crystalline form and was sold as tablets that did not require refrigeration. However, in 1998, for unknown reasons, a new crystalline form of ritonavir was produced in a laboratory. This new crystal, called Form 2, had a much lower solubility than the original and could not be used as a therapeutic. While laboratories studied why such a result had occurred, they also tried to reproduce the original crystal. But no matter what methods were used, only Form 2 was produced. This strange phenomenon spread like wildfire to laboratories around the world, and within a few weeks, there was no place left anywhere in the world capable of producing the original crystal. The pharmaceutical company, which suffered losses approaching $250 million, canceled employees' summer vacations and worked day and night on developing a method to produce Form 1 again. As a result, Form 1 could barely be produced only under extremely controlled conditions. And even then, it could be sold only by maintaining the crystal state in special refrigerated gel capsules. Such disappearing polymorph cases are referred to by scientists as a natural disaster that can occur at any time. In fact, this is said to be the result of a new crystal form being recorded in the Morphic field and then interpreted as an evolved law of nature. Dr. Sheldrake added that once a substance that previously crystallized poorly succeeds in crystallizing even once, identical cases erupt in laboratories worldwide, which he regarded as a Morphic field case similar to the disappearing polymorphs. Meanwhile, the claim that not only posits an imaginary entity with no clear evidence, but also says that entity exerts a massive influence on natural laws, sparked a huge backlash in academia. They argue that every experimental result has a valid reason. In the case of the Japanese children's song, a widely sung popular tune is naturally easier to memorize. In the case of Morse code, it was designed for ease of use. For example, assigning the shortest code to the most frequently used letter so it is easier to learn. In the case of the disappearing polymorph, it was simply that a much more stable crystal was selected by nature. On the other hand, supporters of the morphic field hypothesis keep raising the question of how to explain phenomena such as simultaneous discoveries or the image experiment. Are the laws of the world, as Dr. Rupert Sheldrake claims, indeed undergoing ceaseless evolution like living things in the universe? Perhaps even at this very moment, all our experiences and actions are being recorded in a vast natural archive called the morphic field. This was Midnight Journey.